One result of having so many matchups in the game is there are sometimes matchups that you might not expect to be particularly one-sided, but in fact are, and I am curious to get your guys' thoughts on this particular matchup because in my own experience and based on most of the replays that I've seen, Kislev has a very, very hard time against the High Elves for a number of different reasons. One of them is this big bad boy right here. Dragons. Kislev tends to struggle against good flying units in general. They don't have any hard snares. Their best chance against flying units is just to try and shoot them, right? They don't have any flying units of their own to try and counteract that way. And the Star Dragon, being one of the best air units in the game right now, definitely is tough to deal with, especially when healed effectively with Lore of Life, being percentage-based healing now, very great on that high HP pool. For the rest of the army of Lenorm, the submitter of this replay, we've got Silverin Guard up front, also very good against Kislev. That armor and high missile block chance makes them very tough. They've got magic resistance to help resist any spell damage there, or yeah, spell resistance I should say. Anti-large bonus, of course, help deal with cavalry. Whoops, a little bit of fast forward there. Yeah, so for Silverin Guard, we've got two Sisters of Avalorn for armor-piercing damage, some Spearmen in the back, Illyrian Reavers, Lion Chariots as well. Kislev also brought their own chariots, or sleds rather. We've got two heavy war sleds up front, some armored Kossars, Hanodins. Very good player, definitely a strong tournament player. We've got four Streltsy here as well, a couple of Griffin Legion, and then a Patriarch with an Ice Switch of Tempest hidden here in the woods. All of these are fairly solid picks. The heavy war sleds in particular, armored chariots tend to be quite good against High Elves in the past, at least, and these ones having armor-piercing missile damage definitely helps. A great AP melee stats, of course, anti-infantry. They are quite expensive, though, which is a little bit tough. You can get some great healing out of the Patriarch to try and sustain them, but smart to take the Sisters of Avalorn here as a potential counter. The armored Kossars are going to volley in. Streltsy also firing. Streltsy all should be focusing on the Star Dragon right now, and then, cast whatever you can. Maybe try and debuff its speed. There's no Ice Guards here to try and apply Frostbite at range. Ice Guards are very risky against massed Lothern Sea Guard and Archers, and as the Silverin Guard kind of engage here, we'll get a nice countercharge from the Griffin Legion into the Chariots here. Really not going to do a ton, given the armor of the Chariots, missile resistance of the Lion Chariots, and the White Lion Infantry, I mean, speaking of White Lions, is also another big problem in this matchup. Their missile resistance, good armor-piercing damage, makes them a great infantry choice as well, alongside Silverin Guard and Spearmen. Lothern Sea Guard are also a big problem. They're like Kossars, but just better in every way. They're more expensive, of course, but, I mean, they've got shields, they've got much better range. High Elf Archers in general are just much better than the Kislev Archers at shooting, given that the Kislev Archers are paying a little bit for hybrid tax, of course. High Elves also have Lore of Life, which means they can cast Dwellers Below and just delete an entire pocket of units, whereas Kislev is very limited in the Lore's magic they have access to, so all of these reasons combine to make this a very difficult matchup, and I've got dozens of plays I could potentially show you guys. I think I've probably showed some before in this matchup. Nice Blizzard in the back there to take out those wounded Sisters of Avalorn, and Kislev's fighting back. I mean, it's not like they're certainly completely useless in this matchup. The Dread Sleds pull back. They're going to try and use their missile attacks at this point alongside the Streltsy. Really, again, all the Streltsy probably should have been focusing the Star Dragon the whole time, but even still, might have potentially been able to heal back up. The Griffin Legions also helping to push back. The High Elf Cavalry, of course, Silverin Guard are pushing through there. Other than this one here out in the open that got routed by Griffin Legion, probably focused by Streltsy a bit there, and the sleds, of course. Yeah, I mean, in general, all the Silverin Guards are mostly still healthy here. Sleds are going to try and get a little bit of side rear charge action, which is definitely the right call. Streltsy, of course, also have armor piercing, so they might get some hits. The problem is Streltsy's attack really isn't that great at only 28, and Silverin Guard with martial prowess all the way up to 54 melee defense. So it's just tough for Kislev to output damage. You know, armored Kossars don't output damage in melee really against High Elves. Even like High Elf Spearmen, they will struggle because of the low melee attack. I mean, you've got, like, Zargard Great Weapons, right, which can definitely output damage against infantry, and, like, there, the sleds get a ridiculously good charge on a unit of spearmen, and more importantly, they're not Silverin Guard, but, yeah, those spearmen there kind of showing if the High Elf units are strung out, if they're isolated, the sleds can definitely wallop them in a major way, but, I mean, right now, the Star Dragon's just kind of biding its time, waiting. This dragon can easily drop down, catch these sleds, and destroy them. I mean, Tyrion is also, again, fast enough to catch the sleds and kill them. Also can kill pretty much any Kislev character except maybe Boris. Just in general, Kislev characters, I mean, Constantine really doesn't do anything for you here. Katarine's okay, but her combat stats are not good enough to warrant her. She's very vulnerable to getting sniped. Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand just taking the cheap out Ice Switch to a degree just for Blizzard and summons only, right? To try and get some kind of Lord on the field that if it does get sniped, it's not the biggest deal in the world. But Kislev definitely fighting back right now. They managed to countercharge with the sleds, Streltsy continuing to fire and mostly staying safe at this point. Pushing back another Silverin Guard here. This one also about to rout. So, pushing through, the High Elves are on this front still just a little bit, but the Star Dragon lurking in the back still almost completely full HP. The Archmage as well, we see from the Winds of Magic that the High Elves have quite a bit of Winds of Magic left. I mean, Anodin's for Kislev does as well, but a lot of his is still in reserve, whereas the High Elves have been able to replenish theirs with that Arcane Conduit. I mean, I think the Ice Switch also has access to Arcane Conduit, but chose not to bring it. That's kind of a symptom of the cost optimization. Balance power still very close, though. Kislev going to stay firm. Drop another Blizzard on these Sisters of Avalorn. But another issue here is range, right? Most Kislev units are, I think, almost all of them are 140 range. Ice Guards might be 160, but, I mean, Sisters of Avalorn are 180. I think even Lothar Seaguard are like 165. And, again, can take shields, so the range differential is enough of an issue that it matters. And like there, that Blizzard did quite a bit of damage to those Sisters of Avalorn, but didn't actually kill any of their unit models, so they're still full power in terms of missile damage, right? Shooting. And, of course, there's still the Star Dragon as well, coming in with the Lion Chariots in a nice little heal blob here. To come in delivering a massive strike against the sleds. In my experience, for any factions, like fast, high-charge, armor-piercing flying units are a great counter to sleds in general, like Griffin Lords, to a lesser degree certainly than Dragons, or other, you know, like a Manticore can do well, especially against the lighter chariots, but oh man, nice side-shotting breath attack there, just tears a hole straight through that formation of Streltsy. And then the dragon drops down to deal with the sleds. So, yeah, high charge flying units with armor piercing, especially single entities like, again, griffins and dragons. One of the reasons being they just deliver so much single target damage onto a single model of the sleds. They can often destroy them very quickly. Here, Handedins chooses to throw in the towel, even though the balance of power is still relatively close. I mean, realistically, with the Streltsy starting to get compromised by Silverin Guards, running out of ammunition, there's not a lot of chance for him to take out the Star Dragon, which still could have some potential for healing. So I definitely understand him throwing in the towel there, and it's a tough one. You know, I've theory crafted this matchup with various people, you know, high elf mains and others, and played through a few sessions of it, and it's tough, man. It's real tough for Kislev to win. They can, certainly, you can win with Kislev, but you need to get the right build for sort of the build roulette and then also execute it perfectly. I really like this build. There's a lot of great elements here. I think in terms of execution, the only thing I would change is maybe just focus all the Streltsy on the Star Dragon as soon as possible. But it's definitely tough. Maybe you want to go with more of a like skirmish kite approach with Kislev, but it can be tough there as well. I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. I've tried, you know, like a Zargard-based build. It's also very vulnerable to other things. I mean, Sword Masters are not a common pick in this matchup at all, but occasionally you do see them, and they crush Zargard. Great weapons, so it's a tough time for sure. Be Kislev in this matchup. Hopefully when Kislev gets some DLC, that will kind of equalize things a little bit here. But in terms of army damage value, I mean, the Silverin Guard just kind of grind through the front line in many ways. And then some of the Sisters of Avalorn get some really nice value as well. Valyrian Reavers kind of chasing routing units, just pressuring the back line, do a great job. Also, the Star Dragon really doesn't have to do a lot here. Yeah, still quite healthy, weighing on the end of the on the balance of power at the end of the game. But yeah, both sleds here, although, again, I think they're all very strong picks. Had they played the game to conclusion, they definitely would have paid for themselves. But, you know, it's not enough, I think, to carry you to victory in every single game. The Griffin Legions, although I like the pick here generally, they struggled pretty badly in this particular battle. High Elves had a lot of counters for them. Streltsy, some of them got some pretty good value, others not so much. Again, I kind of like the pick. They are very much vulnerable to counterfire from the High Elves. Like, they just don't trade cost effectively with something like massive archers and Lothran Seaguard. And again, go back to kind of build roulette in this matchup. It can be tricky to know what the High Elves are going to bring because they can do a few different things here effectively. So it's definitely one to watch out for. In general, if you're playing in tournaments, I would try to avoid this matchup as much as you can from the Kislev side. Or if you're comfortable playing High Elves, definitely pick them into Kislev. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.